My brother is a villainous alpha. In the story, he's the kind of character who tries to force himself on the protagonist Omega, only to end up bankrupt and left wandering the streets. So what about my good life then? To protect my future, I deliberately released my Omega pheromones right before he was about to catch the protagonist Omega, locking him in a room and kindly advising, "Brother, forced love never ends well." But in the next second, the air was filled with a strong grapefruit-scented pheromone. Oh no, he's entered his heat cycle. 01. Inside a dimly lit hotel room, I threw my arms around the man's lean figure, desperately flooding the air with my own pheromones as I tried to talk him down. Brother, seriously, forced love is never sweet. Omega pheromones, when concentrated enough, can disrupt an alpha's judgment. As I spoke, I turned my head to the beautiful young Omega still standing in the corner and urged quickly, "Go! Hurry!" He glanced at me in surprise. And no wonder, he was stunning. Pale skin, delicate features, and even in a plain white t-shirt, he looked breathtaking. He didn't come off as weak, but still made people want to protect him. No wonder my brother fell for him. But he really shouldn't. The boy reacted quickly. And a few minutes later, the door closed behind him again. I finally let out a sigh of relief. Just then, I heard the heavy sound of breathing above me. I looked up, and locked eyes with Quinn. The corners of his eyes were tinged red with suppressed emotion. "Brother, I'll stop releasing my pheromones now. Okay. Just, calm down." I loosened my grip, ready to sneak away. But before I could even take 2 steps, a wave of intense grapefruit scent washed over me like a tidal wave. There's a natural suppression between alpha and omega pheromones. My knees buckled and I collapsed to the floor. My voice trembled as I looked back. Brother? One look, and I nearly had a heart attack. His handsome face was flushed. His eyes no longer clear, dark pupils filled with an almost animalistic desire. This is bad. Did my pheromones trigger his heat cycle early? Panic surged through me as I tried to crawl away. Behind me, his footsteps drew closer. Then I heard his voice, low, dark, almost like a devil whispering in my ear. "You were pretty good at releasing pheromones just now. So what are you running from now?" "I'm doomed. 02. I'm someone who transmigrated into a book. But unfortunately, I didn't become some notorious villain or the male lead. I became a total side character. An orphan. At that. Luckily, one of the other kids in the orphanage with me was Quinn, who, in the original story, would become a major antagonist. According to the plot, Quinn lived in the orphanage until he was 10. Then his family took him back, and he eventually rose to power, becoming the head of the family. In short, filthy rich. I hated the idea of a hard life, so I stuck close to him from an early age, playing the role of his most loyal sidekick. But Quinn was cold and withdrawn. Barely ever spoke to me, let alone paid attention. Until one day, he was being pelted with rocks by other kids at the orphanage, and I shielded him with my skinny body. Took a hit to the head so hard it bled. That's when his attitude toward me softened. When he was taken back by his family, he brought me along too, as his little brother. In the blink of an eye, 10 years passed. When I turned 18, I went through my secondary gender differentiation and became an Omega. He even said he'd find me a trustworthy alpha in the future. But now, all of that's gone up in smoke. The moment he grabbed my ankle and dragged me into his arms, I finally started to panic. "Brother, I'm sorry. I messed up. Let me go. I'll go get you a suppressant. If not for the fact that the original story says Quinn falls obsessively for the protagonist Omega, tries to take him by force, and ends up crushed by the male lead's revenge, I wouldn't be doing any of this. But someone in their heat cycle isn't rational. His burning breath brushed the back of my neck, sending shivers all over me. The concentration of alpha pheromones in the air was so strong that my mind was getting fuzzy. My body was heating up, and an unfamiliar craving bubbled up inside me. Ah! A short, sharp cry escaped me. A sudden sting on the back of my neck. Quinn had marked me. His pheromones, the slightly bitter grapefruit scent, mixed with my own sweet citrus. It was like an electric shock rushed through my body, making me tremble uncontrollably. Under the overwhelming sensation, I tilted my neck back involuntarily. All the strength in my body drained away. I went limp like water. Suddenly, I was lifted into the air. My instincts kicked in. I wrapped my arms around his neck. The next moment, he tossed me onto the bed. He stood at the foot of it, pulling off his tie. His gaze dark and unreadable, like a beast locking onto its prey. His tie hit the floor. The collar of his black dress shirt hung open, revealing a lean, powerful frame that made my blood rush. A strange tingle ran down my spine. I swallowed hard and instinctively scooted toward the headboard. Out of the corner of my eye, I spotted a cabinet selling suppressants right next to the bed. My heart jumped. Brother! There's a suppressant right here, calm down. I reached into my pocket, pulled out my phone, and scanned the code without missing a beat. My entire focus was on getting that suppressant, so much so I didn't notice him silently undoing his belt. Click. The sound echoed sharply in the dark room, just as I successfully paid and opened the cabinet, ready to grab the suppressant. A slender hand beat me to it. I blinked, a little stunned, but then quickly said, "It's okay. You can use it yourself. I mean, there's no way my brother would actually do something to me. Right? He's just affected by the pheromones. Once he takes the suppressant, everything will be fine." But before I could fully relax, I felt his burning body press against my back. Then I watched, wide-eyed, as his hand bypassed the suppressant and picked up the condom next to it. My pupils dilated in shock. Grapefruit-scented breath warmed the shell of my ear. "Gabriel, but you were the one who teased your brother first." 03. Everything was out of control. A complete mess. Quinn had my wrists pinned above my head with one hand, staring into his eyes, darkened with desire. I was on the verge of tears. "Quinn. It's me, Gabriel. Not Sawyer. The story's main character. Snap out of it." But before I could say more, he silenced me with a kiss. Hot and demanding. His large hand began moving, sliding downward toward the edge of my pants. My eyes flew wide open. I twisted my body frantically, trying to keep them on. But soon, I felt something hard pressing against my leg. Hot. My movements froze instantly. Thump. Thump. My heartbeat pounded in my ears, whether his or mine. I couldn't tell. The heat in the room skyrocketed. Just when I thought the worst was about to happen. Bang! The door was kicked open with force. Quinn stopped mid-kiss. Interrupted. He sat up, dragging the blanket to cover me, and turned to face the group entering the room. His voice was icy cold. "What do you want?" 04. Cody? The main lead? My dazed mind finally cleared a bit. Yeah, this scene was definitely part of the plot. The villain Quinn was supposed to force himself on the main character Sawyer, only for the main lead Cody to arrive just in time and save him. But, hadn't Sawyer already left safely? I looked up curiously and was greeted by a strikingly handsome face. Sharp brows. Eyes like a hawk. Posture straight as a rod, definitely not someone to mess with. Quinn, still in the middle of his rut, exuded pure aggression. Their eyes met. Tension crackled in the air. Just then, a slender figure stepped out from behind Cody. It was Sawyer. He looked worriedly at me, still wrapped up in the blanket, and offered a kind smile. His lips moved silently. Don't be afraid. I got it instantly. He must have thought Quinn would hurt me after I let him go. So he brought Cody to rescue me. That guy. I could cry. Seriously. But a chill suddenly crept down my spine. I turned my head on instinct, and found myself staring straight into Quinn's stormy eyes. Don't look at me like that. 05. Meeting my gaze. Quinn's entire demeanor shifted. He even smiled. His voice softened as he asked, Gabriel, do you know them? Crap. Not good. If anyone knew Quinn well, it was me. That smile meant he was furious. Everyone knew the villain and the main lead were mortal enemies. And now me, his right-hand guy, was not only friendly with the lead but had also helped Sawyer escape today. I might not die, but I'd definitely lose some skin. I quickly shook my head like a rattled drum and looked over at Sawyer, forcing out an excuse. You misunderstood. He's going through his rut. I stayed to take care of him. But Sawyer clearly didn't buy it. His eyes flicked between Quinn's icy expression and my nervous one, like he wanted to say something but held back. Cody glanced coldly at Quinn, then let his gaze fall on me, peeking out from under the blanket. He seemed to smirk. He sneered. Since Quinn already has someone, maybe he should stop going after others. And with that, he dramatically took Sawyer's hand and walked out, slamming the door shut behind him. Silence. I slowly turned back, heart pounding. I braced myself for the storm. But Quinn just sat there, expression oddly calm. If looks could kill, Cody would have been dead hundreds of times over. Well, at least that whole mess had killed the mood. I quickly got up and grabbed the suppressant. Seeing him still frowning, I couldn't help but offer advice. Quinn, I'm just saying, forcing someone doesn't work. If you really like someone, you've got to take it slow and treat them well. At that, he turned to look at me. His dark eyes locked onto mine, unreadable emotions swirling within. After a pause, he asked in a low voice, Am I not good enough already? Seriously? You went straight to home base and you're calling that being good? Honestly, I should have reported you. But I guess the world has bugs. Still, I plastered on a fake smile and nodded. Yeah. You're the best. No one's better than you. Sigh. He may be the villain, but he's still my brother. Guess I'll keep spoiling him myself. I shoved the suppressant into his hand. Come on. Use it. The pheromone concentration in the air was so strong, I was starting to get dizzy. If this kept up, I wouldn't be able to hold it together. His just settled expression sank again. But under my expectant gaze, he finally took the suppressant from me. Once the injection was done, the strong scent of grapefruit started to fade. I tossed off the blanket and got ready to leave. All right. I'll go now. I hadn't even finished the sentence when I was pulled back into his arms through the blanket. His voice, low and commanding, slipped into my ear. "Didn't you say you'd take care of me? Release a little pheromone." I was just saying. But technically, omega pheromones do help calm alphas during their rut. I couldn't refuse. Ah. Okay. The sweet scent of citrus gradually spread, blending with the fading grapefruit. I don't know how long he held me like that. My emotions had already been through a roller coaster. And by then, I was completely drained. Eventually, I drifted off to sleep. What I didn't know was that the man lying next to me began breathing more heavily. He loosened his grip on me, covered his eyes with one hand, and every vein in his arm popped with restraint. 06. An alpha's rut lasts several days. Even though Quinn had taken a suppressant, his mood remained unstable. He couldn't go back to work yet. I originally wanted to take him home. There were maids and a housekeeper, easier to care for him. But he refused. Just stared straight at me. I looked away. Guilty. It was my fault his rut had come early. Taking care of him was the least I could do. So over the next few days, I was forced to stay at the hotel, releasing pheromones to soothe him, playing the role of his personal cuddle pillow. A whole week passed before he finally calmed down. The morning his rut ended, I woke up and he was already gone. I sat up in bed, stared at the empty space beside me. Strangely, my chest felt a little empty too. I shook my head. What am I even thinking? Buzz. A message came through, scratching my messy hair. I grabbed my phone from the nightstand. It was from Quinn. "I've gone to work. Eat breakfast at the hotel before you head home." I replied with a cat emoji, "Okay." He sent back the same cat emoji, a big cat patting a little cat. Kind of sweet. Actually. My heart inexplicably sped up. Then I flopped back down on the bed. Just a fluke. Had to be. 07. For more than 2 weeks after that, I didn't see Quinn at all. I heard he'd been busy with a project and was out of town on a business trip. At first, I felt a bit off without him around. But I quickly adjusted back to my old routine, happily getting ready for the new school year. Recently, the college entrance exam results came out. I got accepted to University A. Even though life had been pretty good with Quinn over the years, I still remembered what the orphanage director said to me in my past life. Only by being useful can you avoid being abandoned. I also remember that day when the results were announced. Quinn looked genuinely happy. Probably relieved I didn't embarrass him. Before I knew it, the first day of school arrived. I was ready to go alone. But as I finished packing and headed downstairs, I saw a familiar figure. Quinn was sitting on the couch, a laptop on his knees, looking serious as he gave some instructions. Maybe he heard me come down, because he looked up, paused when he saw me, then said something into the laptop before closing it. He came over and casually took my suitcase. "Did you pack everything?" he asked. I nodded, noticing his serious expression earlier. I quickly said, "Quinn, if you have work to do, go ahead. I can handle school by myself." He frowned slightly. "What nonsense are you talking? Work's not more important than taking you to school. Let's go." With that, he strode past me toward the door. Oh. I followed him out, a bit dazed. Quinn drove me to school himself. Even at school, I hadn't quite processed it yet. He didn't act like the typical domineering CEO type. After parking, he carried all my bags as we headed to registration. reminding me on the way. If someone bullies you or you feel sick, call me. In the sunlight. His profile was sharp and clear as he rambled on. I was a little stunned, feeling a strange flutter inside. Tingling and strange. Before the story, I'd gone to college too. But no one ever came to take me or reminded me of anything. I was used to living alone. But now, things felt a little different. Maybe because I didn't respond for a while. Quinn turned back with a slight smile. HM. I snapped out of it and smiled back. Okay. Quinn. His expression softened, and a little smile rose in his eyes. But just after we finished registration and were joking on the way to the dorm, we opened the door and unexpectedly saw a familiar figure. A boy sitting at a desk, wearing headphones. Fair-skinned. Handsome profile, like a character straight out of a manga. Who else but Sawyer? I glanced sideways without thinking. And sure enough, Quinn's eyes immediately locked on Sawyer. The happiness I'd felt just moments ago vanished, replaced by disappointment. 08. Hearing the noise at the door, Sawyer turned around. When he saw me, his face lit up happily. But then he noticed Quinn standing behind me, and the smile that hadn't quite formed faded away. Still, he greeted me politely. You're here. I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded awkwardly. Damn this damn guy. Luckily, we were at school, and there were others in the dorm. Quinn didn't say much. Just gave Sawyer a long look before putting down my luggage. He told me to eat well or something and then left. Watching his back disappear, I turned away and quickly started unpacking. Sawyer took off his headphones, stood up, and came over. Need help? His voice was pleasant, refined, like a warm breeze. It was easy to like him. But I shook my head. No thanks. I can manage. We were on different sides now. Quinn might be the villain, but he was still my brother. No matter what, I'd stand by him. Given Quinn's villain nature, if one attempt failed, maybe there'd be a next time. And next time, I might not be able to stop it. 09. After the new semester started, it wasn't long before military training began. Quinn messaged me almost every day, asking about how things were at school. He even did video calls at night. At first, I didn't think much of it. But after it happened a lot, I realized he might be using me to spy on Sawyer's dorm life. Realizing this, I used the excuse of being too tired from training to skip video calls for a few days. It's not that I didn't want to talk to him. It's that his mindset was too dangerous. Bankruptcy warning. One evening at dusk, on the way to the cafeteria, my roommate Felix put an arm around my shoulder and teased me. Gabriel, your body's no good. You gotta train more. Even if we're Omegas, we can't neglect fitness. I gave him a weak glance and smiled sarcastically. You're a strong Omega yourself. We'd been training all day in this heat. Even dogs would be panting. Felix laughed, but then suddenly saw something, pushed me away, and ran off. Whoa! How'd this guy get here? Can't let him know I'm an Omega now. Before I could turn, Felix disappeared. Looking up, I saw a tall, thin boy walking past. He seemed to notice Felix and sprinted after him. The wind rushed past my ears. Youth is great, military training followed by a chase. But just as I was about to reach the cafeteria, I overheard someone say, "Did you see? Quinn seems to have come to school." Quinn? Where? Where? Where else? I turned and dashed back to the dorm. If I guessed right, Sawyer was in heat right now. Sawyer got heatstroke during training and was alone in the dorm. Sure enough, he hadn't given up. I sprinted all the way back. And before even reaching the dorm door, I smelled a strong scent of gardenia mixed with grapefruit. My heart dropped. That was Sawyer's and Quinn's pheromones. 10. I was rushing forward. But then my knees suddenly gave out. A tingling sensation spread from my tailbone. My breathing quickened without me even realizing it. I grabbed the wall for support, gasping for air. A sweet citrus scent filled the air. Damn it. Why did my heat have to hit right now? I cursed under my breath. I never carry suppression shots with me. Finally, I reached the door and was about to open it when I heard Sawyer's weak voice from inside. Quinn. Don't come closer. Ah! My hand dropped from the doorknob. My lashes trembling. I'd missed it. A heavy weight settled in my chest, making it hard to breathe. But I couldn't think too much now. My body felt feverish and restless. I forced myself to walk away. The priority was to get to the clinic for a suppression injection. Just as I turned around, the dorm door suddenly opened. Gabriel. Where are you going? That familiar voice came from behind me. My steps froze. Already? I turned and saw Quinn standing there. Perfectly dressed. Not a hair out of place, definitely not like someone up to no good. I was completely stunned. What was going on? As he approached, that familiar grapefruit scent hit my nose. I barely kept myself from falling into his arms. Quinn. You didn't do anything to Sawyer. Right? Sawyer? Quinn frowned and explained calmly. I came looking for you. But you weren't here. Sawyer happened to enter heat. So I gave him a suppression shot so it wouldn't affect you. Then I called Cody to come pick him up. That's all? That can't be right. A once-in-a-lifetime opportunity like this. Wait. He called Cody. Is this what villains come to nowadays? Like Quinn? Seeing my wide eyes, Quinn raised his hand and pressed it to my forehead. His voice low. Why's your face so red? His palm was cool. I instinctively rubbed it. But my body started feeling uncomfortable again. My remaining reason slipping away. I begged. Quinn. Do you still have suppression shots? Give me one too. Because of the heat. My cheeks flushed. And my eyes glazed over. I had no idea how charming I looked to him right then. In the hallway, Quinn's Adam's apple bobbed, his expression shifting before he finally said hoarsely, We're out of suppression shots. Let's go home. 11. Out of shots? I believed him. All right. Then let's go home. At first, I was still conscious on the way back. But then my awareness faded more and more. Until we arrived at a familiar apartment. I struggled to recognize it. It was near Quinn's company. A place he stayed alone when busy. I'd been here a few times before. The car stopped outside. When Quinn carried me out, I was still confused. Quinn. Why here? Since Quinn took over the family business, he mostly stayed in the old villa with me and the old man. His parents didn't like me. But at least I had the old man's favor. The housekeepers and nannies treated me politely too. I had thought he'd bring me home and call the family doctor for the shot. But Quinn's tone was casual. This place is closer. You have military training tomorrow, going back and forth would be a hassle. Honestly, I wasn't that excited about military training. But now, I didn't have time to think about such things. He put me on the bed in his bedroom. His room was minimalist. Gray tones, perfect for sleeping. I kicked off my shoes and buried my face in the pillow, groaning. Quinn, hurry and get the suppression shot. But the man behind me didn't leave. That's when I started to feel something was wrong. Before I could turn around, someone pressed down on me. The grapefruit scent of his pheromones flooded me. I felt both comfortable and uncomfortable at once. But I was too weak to resist. Like a lamb to the slaughter, I struggled helplessly and called out, "Quinn, don't move. I heard a temporary marking is better than suppression shots." A low, husky voice whispered behind me. As soon as he spoke, I felt a moist touch on the back of my neck. Then teeth biting into my swollen gland. Ah! I buried my face deeper in the pillow, letting out broken moans unconsciously. But the person behind me didn't ease up. Instead, he bit down harder, like he wanted to swallow me whole. This bite was different from before. He bit for a long time, injecting who knows how much pheromone. Tears welled up in my eyes. It hurts. Good boy. 12. Quinn was right, a temporary marking really is more effective than suppression shots. Because the next day, I was standing out in the sun doing military training again. I grumbled in my heart. But during breaks, my hand unconsciously went to the back of my neck, where it still hurt a little. Felix leaned over and sniffed me. "Hey, Gabriel. You smell like an alpha," I explained without thinking. "Oh. That's my brother's. I'm in heat. And he helped me." Quinn liked Sawyer. He probably helped me because he didn't want me to be affected during training. I really appreciated that. Felix's eyes went wide, shocked. Then he muttered thoughtfully to himself, "Can bros be like this?" Then before I could hear more, a beta girl nearby came over excitedly. "Whoa. Pseudo-family drama." I quickly waved my hand. No. No blood relation. I thought she'd understand. But she got even more excited. Fake family's even better. I'm shipping it. 13. In the days that followed, I didn't go into heat again and safely made it through military training. The night after training ended, after the big group singing, everyone was sitting on the lawn chatting. Felix couldn't hold back and jumped up, saying, "Hey, training's over. Let's all go hang out." Sawyer was there too and smiled when he heard that. "Where to?" "To a bar for some drinks. Or maybe KTV to sing." That was Logan from the class next door. An alpha. Logan was my high school classmate. We used to be pretty close. But since I shifted into an Omega, he kept his distance. We already sang at training. "Let's just go drink," Felix decided and looked at me and Sawyer. "What do you guys think?" I was indifferent. And Sawyer didn't mind either. So, we headed straight to a bar near the school. In the booth, Logan sat next to me, holding a cocktail and whispering, "Gabriel. Long time no see." I turned my head to look at him. Logan was handsome. About 185 meters tall. A former athlete with dark skin but bright eyes. I'd heard quite a few people chased after him at school. "Yeah. How have you been lately?" he asked again. "Pretty good." I took a sip of my drink and glanced at Sawyer, who was also drinking. Under the spotlight, the boy's skin was fair. His profile soft, and his long eyelashes fluttered like butterfly wings. Just sitting there was enough to draw attention. For some reason, I felt a bit annoyed. I wished I looked that good too. After a few more drinks, I finally suppressed that nameless frustration. But I was also a bit tipsy. When Logan led me outside, I briefly regained clarity. Logan? Yeah. You're drunk. The dorm's locked now. Let's just crash at a nearby bar tonight. An alpha pheromone with a red wine scent filled my nose. I instinctively wanted to push him away. I mean, Alpha and Omega are different. I'll call my brother to pick me up. But I didn't push him. Logan's voice sounded a bit bitter. Gabriel, do you know why I stayed away from you? Huh? Why? I felt like several figures were swaying before me. Because of your brother. Before he finished, I smelled that familiar grapefruit scent again. Then I was pulled firmly into a warm embrace. I struggled to open my eyes and was surprised to see him. Brother? His face was dark. He glanced coldly at Logan, then picked me up horizontally. Let's go home. I naturally nestled into his arms. Behind us. Logan shouted in frustration. He treats you like a brother. Quinn ignored him. I said nothing. Strange, if I don't see Quinn as my brother, then what else could he be? 14. By the time we got back to the apartment, it was late. I insisted on taking a shower. After a whole day of training, I was covered in sweat. Quinn was worried but let me in after I insisted. The warm water streamed down. I sobered up a bit. But just as I finished washing and was about to get dressed, my legs weakened and a familiar tingling sensation hit my tailbone. Bang! I braced myself against the sink, reaching for my clothes, accidentally knocking over the soap dispenser. The door behind me suddenly swung open. I turned instinctively and froze. Seeing me standing there, Quinn walked straight over, scanning me with a hoarse voice. Heat again. Hearing his voice, I snapped back to reality and turned away, hurriedly dressing. After putting on my underwear, I tried to act calm. Brother, please mark me again. Temporary marking was definitely more effective than suppression shots. It could last a few more days. But the heat wasn't over yet. And once the mark wore off, the heat would return. After I said that, I waited a while. But he didn't move. So I turned around. Unexpectedly, I met his dark gaze. My heart skipped a beat. It was the same look he gave at the hotel. Brother? Hearing me call him brother, Quinn's expression shifted slightly. He looked helpless, wrapped me in a bathrobe, and quietly asked, Gabriel, do you know what marking really means? This was the first time he called me by my full name. My eyes flickered. Growing up in an orphanage, I worked hard at everything, afraid of being looked down on. Even here, in this new world, finally having a family, I was scared to embarrass them or get kicked out. So I studied day and night to catch up on all this unfamiliar knowledge. I knew that AO only marked each other if they truly liked one another. But so what? He didn't like me. I laughed it off. Brother, didn't you say temporary marking works better than suppression shots? Yes. But it also has another meaning. What meaning? I suddenly stammered, not daring to look at him. But his voice came through the steam, filling my ear. I don't know what you're misunderstanding, but I don't like Sawyer. I've only met him a few times. And he's the one Cody likes. I'm not interested in playing third wheel. Gabriel. From start to finish. The only person I like is you. Boom, fireworks exploded in my mind. Did the villain just confess liking a nobody like me? But I remembered something and stammered. Then why did you bring Sawyer to the hotel before? Quinn was surprisingly straightforward. After the party, I felt the onset of my receptive period. So I booked a room to rest. He randomly showed up in my room. I hadn't kicked him out when you came in. I picked up on the key point. He was about to enter his receptive period. As if sensing what I was thinking, Quinn cleared his throat, his ears turning red. It wouldn't have been so soon. But you showed up and I lost control. The citrus scent in the air grew stronger. I was already restless inside. Now uncontrollable, like a beast let loose. I stood on my tiptoes and kissed him first. His pupils shrank. Then he grabbed my waist tightly. How we went from temporary marking to the bed, I barely remember. I only remember him biting down from the back of my neck. Before long, the last pieces of clothing on me disappeared. The ceiling light swayed above us. It wasn't until the sky began to lighten at dawn that I finally passed out. 15. In my dream, I was back at 8 years old. Thanks to my rich experience in the orphanage. Even after being run over by a car and transmigrating here to start over, I adapted quickly. Since I was young, I helped the orphanage director with chores, using my charm to trade for chicken legs. I gave them all to the young Quinn to cheer him up and help him stay healthy. I selfishly got close to him only because I knew he was family. But he was completely unaware. When he found out there was only one chicken leg each time, he refused to eat. When I was injured by a rock, bleeding and beaten, he stayed at my bedside for days without sleep. After waking, I learned that the usually solitary Quinn had begged the director to find me a doctor. Once my injuries healed, Quinn viciously beat those who hurt me and was punished by the director by being locked in the small dark room. He was very afraid of the dark. When I stumbled to find him, his face was pale and terrible. But when he saw me, the only thing he asked was, "Does your head still hurt?" Tears instantly fell. I cried and threw myself into his arms. "Brother." He let me hold him. Called me brother. "Then you're mine now." Because I said that. He firmly grabbed my hand. "If you want to go back, I'll come too." At first, they didn't agree. But they couldn't refuse Quinn. So they finally let me come home. I'd seen Quinn tired and I'd seen him lose his temper with his subordinates. But he never let me suffer a bit of hardship. All the frustration and bitterness over the days suddenly made sense. I realized, at some point, I had fallen for him too. 16. I slept until noon this time. I thought Quinn would have gone to work already. But when I opened my eyes, I met a close-up of his handsome face. "Brother?" As my mind cleared, the sensations in my body returned too. Moving even a little made me wince in pain. Ouch! Seeing this, Quinn's expression tightened. He was about to pull back the blanket and asked with concern, "Where does it hurt?" I covered the blanket with my hand, blushing. "It's nothing. Not hurting." He was pretty gentle last night. But my whole body ached like I'd run several thousand meters overnight. Hearing this, Quinn relaxed. "Hungry? I'll get you something to eat." I nodded, trying to get out of bed to wash up. But as soon as my feet touched the floor, my legs trembled uncontrollably. I heard a muffled chuckle behind me. I turned and glared. The culprit hid his smile, came around, and carried me to wash up. I happily accepted it. But out of the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of the trash can and saw a package that looked very familiar. Like the one he took from the hotel that day. So that means the one who wanted to take me by force has always been me. 17. Although things got pretty ridiculous, it also felt somewhat normal. For example, he was still at odds with Cody. But the company seemed stable now. Nothing like it could be bankrupted easily. Just that after that day, he wouldn't let me call him brother. Well, except sometimes. 2 years flew by like that. By my junior year, I had finished all my credits. When I went to intern, I couldn't hide my excitement. Brother, you can take it easier from now on. Better to chase the wind than wait for it. I would try to be better, not only for myself but to walk side by side with him. Behind the desk. His features were even more defined than 2 years ago. Hearing me, he looked up. His eyes flickering softly. Then beckoned me. Come here. I obeyed and he pulled me into a full embrace. His low voice whispered near my ear. As long as you're by my side, I'm happy. My heart caught. All the loneliness and guards I had built up during those wandering years melted away, replaced by warmth flooding through my limbs and bones. Before I could get too emotional, hot breath brushed my neck. I instinctively felt something was off. Brother, I should get to work. No rush. Let's do a temporary mark first. The curtains were drawn. Soon. My muffled sobs echoed through the office. Who the hell gets stripped down just for a temporary mark? Extra, Quinn's perspective. The moment Quinn saw Sawyer, a memory suddenly surfaced in his mind. In that memory, even knowing the boy in front of him was the hated Cody's interest, he still took an interest in this Omega and tried to claim him by force. But he failed, as Cody arrived just in time to rescue the Omega. After that, Quinn recklessly targeted Cody, even resorting to means that forced Sawyer, the Omega, into ruin and homelessness. It was truly fucking ridiculous. He abandoned the treasure he'd raised since childhood to like the enemy's target. He wasn't crazy. When Quinn came to his senses and was about to kick Sawyer out, Gabriel showed up unexpectedly. That foolish kid clung to him tightly and released a huge amount of pheromones. Quinn was already close to his receptive period. And with that embrace, he immediately lost control. After Sawyer was driven away, Quinn couldn't hold back and pulled Gabriel into his arms, biting the soul-stirring gland. He originally wanted to take things slowly, first drive away the alpha around Gabriel, then treat Gabriel well. Just like Gabriel said, take it step by step. But it was Gabriel who came knocking on his door. Too bad. That damned Cody ruined his plan. But it was fine. He went back later. Seeing Sawyer enter heat, he deliberately gave him a suppression shot, then called Cody to pick him up. The pain of having that meat in front of him but not being able to eat it. Cody should feel it too. What surprised him was that Gabriel also entered heat. Softly, Gabriel asked, "Brother, do you still have suppression shots? Give me one too." He actually still had some in his pocket, but selfishly lied. "Shots are all gone. Let's go home." At that moment, Quinn had only one thought. He wanted to mark Gabriel, really wanted to.